happening now is it's just a blog speaking. So if you're watching from home, I'm here with David Howe.
That's why I know which one's which. Yeah.
Yes. This is why we need more diversity in tech. So there we are. Welcome back to Didsbury FM. If you're joining us from home, welcome. We've had two fantastic speakers, and I'm delighted to welcome back speaker number 3, who is David Howe. Mr. Howe, feels a bit weird calling him David, the headmaster of Didsbury Primary School, and who will soon be the chief exec of
M20 Learning Trust.
M20 Learning Trust, and is taking a step back from being direct head. Some of you will remember that we've got, we had Liz Hardy, who is taking over partly the role, and so we're delighted to have Mr. Howe back with us. So welcome, Mr. Howe.
Nice to speak.
We'd like to start from the beginning, because I think there's an awful lot of people who didn't hear you the first time. And just to warn you, we may overrun, so stay with us. Well, after the last time we had Mr. Howe on, we should just have him on and have different people per show. But I wanted to start from the beginning because you yourself are not from Manchester.
No.
You're from you're a Londoner. So how did you end up here?
In Manchester to begin with.
Yeah.
When I went to Warwick University. That was the furthest north I'd ever been in my life when I was a kid. I was a proper London. Didn't go very far, except for the odd football specials that used to go in and out, of other cities and come home again very quickly. So I went to Warwick, and there I met some people from different parts of the country. One was from Manchester, and who's still a friend of mine. He lives in Didsbury, and he said, "Why don't you come up and spend the weekend in Manchester?" But it happened to be the weekend of, probably some of you too young for this, the famous 3-3 draw between City and United back in the days of Colin Bell and all kinds of people playing. And so our Saturday we went into Manchester, we went into the Grapes pub, and they used to serve a chilli curry there before the game, and you had a few pints in there. And then you went into the Kippax, which at those times was mixed, United and City supporters, most people smoking weed and passing kind of bottles of stuff across. And at that time, I just thought this is not a good place. And then we went out to some big nightclub on the Saturday night. And so, I thought this is a good place because I do like cities. And at that time, I mean, it still is to a certain extent. London was beyond expensive to live in. So I decided to make the next move to here, to Manchester, something up in Manchester.
So how long have you been here now? It is a great city. How long have you been here then?
30, probably 40 years actually.
Crikey.
Probably 40 years.
Because you've also
so some young son's a proper mank, he's thinking, me like that. So we're Manchester, got a lot of connections in Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've been in education as well for a long time. How long have you been in education?
I started when I was 12. If I tell you how many years. No, I've been 46 years, 47 years.
Wow. Because we know you're not really retiring.
No,
you're just sort of reducing your hours, if I can put it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else had this, it's an issue, isn't it? What time do you kind of move on or move out or whatever? When you've been in the job you really love and you've got plenty of energy left in. But there comes a time, it's most things in my life, as you know, Sally, come back to football. So it's the kind of like, it's the Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger conundrum, isn't it? You've got to pick the right time to go. So Alex picked the right time to go. Poor Arsene didn't pick the right time to go. And eventually someone put their arm around him and eased him towards the exit. And I didn't want this to happen. So the whole thing was, obviously Beaver has been a huge part of my life. I wanted to make sure, not in an arrogant way, that there was a legacy there, that things continued. We could work very hard to build up the school and so on. And I am convinced that there's capacity there with new leaders and so on moving up and moving through that we've recruited over many years. for the school to sustain itself. It will change, and it has to change. You know, things never stand still. But I was convinced that this is now the right time. Maybe if you invite me back in 3 years' time, I say, actually, I can't.
Yeah, I know.
There just comes a time to make that right decision.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you about your own kind of inspiration? I'm going to ask you about leadership and your style of leadership and the impact on the teachers and building an outstanding school. But where does your inspiration come from? I mean, because if you have parents who were in education, just tell us a bit about that. What did your mum and dad do, and where did you grow up?
I grew up, first of all, in North London, in Islington, which was vastly different from what it is now.
I was going to say, it's very expensive now.
Yeah. Then we were that generation that moved out to one huge council estate out. They built out in Essex, a place like that, the Harrow Estate, which, nowadays people talk as though it's kind of like the most crime-infested place. I thought it was all right when I lived there. I didn't seem to be in trouble to me. So my dad was, he worked in the print, and my mum was a housewife, and then she did some part-time work in the admin at a local factory. So neither of those people went to university, but both of them should have gone to university. They had to leave school at 14 and so on, there was no money around and so on. So for them, it must have been a really good time to actually teach in schools in that area. Because there were a lot of that generation that came out, a lot of them were ex-servicemen that came out after war, they voted for the National Health Service and all the rest of it, and aspirations and so on. And although I was one of the first children from that council estate to ever go to university, since then, there was lots of other aspiring families. But I don't like the idea of aspiring and non-aspiring. All families are aspiring, in my experience. It's just that people want different things, and they always just said, look, whatever you want to do, you want to do. Interestingly enough, because the print at the time was highly unionised. My dad was a father of the chapel, which is like a union student, and so. And they used to. It was a father-son. Sorry, there weren't daughters in those days. It was a father-son kind of employment situation. So if your father was in the union and in the print, there was a job for you in the print somewhere. And the job that he had lined up for me was a compositor. They were the people who used to tap out, it's like really last century, these are the people who used to tap out the lead for the print. And these people were really highly paid. So that was going to be my job. So if I didn't get, didn't do well at school or whatever. But interestingly enough, of course, with Wapping and the takeover of Murdoch and so on, those jobs were all gone. Because all his friends who were on those jobs, they lost their jobs overnight almost, because they were replaced by computerisation and so on. So it's amazing how life kind of takes different turns. So I went to education, did history and politics at Warwick, and I worked. I used to get summer jobs. My dad used to get me a union card called the white card, and it's the only way you could get into the print. So I used to go and do holiday cover for people. So I worked on the Daily Mirror, which at the time was a really big paper. People don't understand, but the Mirror used to have like 10 million readers. And it was highly influential in terms of governments and so on at the time. And they had their headquarters was in Holborn. At the time, it was the highest building in London. It was 13 stories. It was the highest building in London. And working on the 12th story were the lead writers and that kind of thing. And one of my jobs, we had different shifts. But my job, we used to get in at 6 o'clock in the morning. And one of the jobs then was to get all the newspapers that were delivered from all the other newspapers into a centre. And we had to kind of get them up to all the editors, because there was no electronics in those days. So my job was to take this big bundle of stuff up to the leader writer, a guy by the name of Fairclough. And so we got talking after a while, and he said, what are you going to do when you leave here? You're coming into the print. So I said, I made my mind up. He said, because on the Mirror, we're always looking for young people in the NUJ, and we could find you a column and all that kind of thing. And I said, well, I'm thinking of becoming a teacher. And he said, becoming a teacher? When are you becoming a teacher? I said, well, actually, I've got this girlfriend who's going to teacher training college, and I think I'm in love, and I think I'm going to go and be a teacher. And he went, I think you need to think about this. So he said, I'll give you till Wednesday, to think about it. So it was either like teacher training college, or NUJ and journalism, all that kind of thing. So in the end, I went to teach training course, but and I didn't even last with a girlfriend, but that's another story. But you kind of make that choice, and so like at one side of me thinks, I could have been one of those war correspondents, you know, when they're going into Kabul on the front of a tank, you know, like, and you've got your war helmet on, you're reporting. I could have been that, you know, if I'd have taken that choice. But on the other hand, I could have been reporting on like the Suffolk Gazette, couldn't I? You know,
yes, exactly.
birthdays, parties, and things.